Rolling in 3, 2. In video games, the protagonist is set up to become a legendary hero based on their deeds and skills. However, let's take a moment to remember something, that without any villains, there would be no heroes. So here's a tribute to who I consider the best villains in games that I've played so far. Please note, this is my list and it's my opinion. Have I played every video game in the world? No. So if I'm missing someone important or you think I'm missing someone, please let me know down in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to take a look at cool villains, because they're often so just overlooked. So, compelling villains, please let me know. Anyhow, there will be spoilers in here, so if you don't want a game spoiled to you, please be warned, this might not be the video for you. Anyhow, let's kick this list off with someone who suffers from what I call lazy bastard syndrome. Number 10. Alright, so kicking off this list is a man who essentially ruined the entire world just for his own pursuit. Court from Legend of Legaia. Yeah, how many of you out there actually know who this bastard is? No? Fine. So, let me explain why he's on this list. He is a genius researcher that was tasked to find a new weapon to win a war for his country. However, he saw the great destructive potential of his weapon, the Mist, and decided to unleash it upon the world, effectively crippling the world for about 10 years. So he's a warmonger turned ultra powerful baddie. The reason why he's so low on this list is because he does suffer from lazy bastard syndrome. For most of the entire game, he is aware of the heroes traveling across land and undoing his work. Does he see to it personally to kill the heroes? No. He just sends his lackeys to do all the work and they just die left and right, eventually making the hero strong enough to kill him. Lazy bastard syndrome affects a lot of villains. But this next entrant suffers from a different syndrome. Something I call little bitch baby syndrome. Number 9. So I've noticed something about this in the previous entry. They're essentially both warmongers with a special origin, and they only look out for themselves. The difference between Court and Kuja from Final Fantasy IX is that Kuja's actions are all part of a larger plan. Kuja just wanted death to befall everyone, because that was a part of a big convoluted reason of another weird plan of another villain in any game. Anyhow, the reason why he made weapons of war wasn't for him and his selfish pursuits and he was just trying to rule the world. No, he just wanted to kill people. Court wanted some sort of control. Kuja just said, fuck it. The main reason he's on this list is because once he finds out that he's going to die soon, he sets out to destroy the entire world. Little bitch syndrome. If I can't live, neither can anybody else. Don't get me wrong, Kuja appears throughout the game enough, but it isn't until disc 3 that he shows any attention for you or your party. Unlike this next entry, who'd always give you the time and a rhyme. Number 8. Aside from most villains on this list, Gruntilda is one of the lighter-hearted villains. She kidnapped Banjo's sister for reasons that she doesn't follow through with despite having time throughout the entire game. Banjo and Kazooie are making their way through the castle. Maybe she suffers from lazy bitch syndrome, I don't know. But the reason why she's on the list is because she's always following you and making fun of you throughout the entire game. However, she really doesn't do that much other than that. But given her game, that's about all she could do. To be honest, that's all she needed to do to keep the player engrossed into going after her. Unlike this next entry, she's present at every turn, whereas this asset just shows up at the end or near the end of the game only. Number 7. Throughout the entire Diablo series, the main villain is Diablo. Yes, I know, what a surprise. But the influence that he has on the lands is extremely detrimental. He brings about evil and chaos in his wake, and all he really wants to do is just get stronger and stronger so that he become an ultra powerful entity capable of enslaving everything. Heaven, hell, and even Earth, of course, or whatever they call it in Diablo. Anyhow, he is very hard to completely kill. Even if the slightest amount of him remains, even a blood of a human who's a bastard child of his, he usually finds a way back. Diablo is also cunning. He doesn't really rely on brute strength to achieve his goals, whereas the others did. He sets up plans and cleverly gets others to do his bidding, but he's not nearly as smart as this next villain. Number 6. No, I'm serious. Yes, I know this is a joke ending, but I'd like to imagine that the true mastermind behind the beautifully crafted game of Silent Hill 2 is Doge. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, let me fill you in. After you get a certain amount of different endings in Silent Hill 2, you can find a way to open up this door, which was locked on previous playthroughs, and James comes to the obvious realization of why Silent Hill is so evil. Number 5. So speaking of villains who are masterminds, I feel like Ganon definitely belongs on this list. we get to see Ganon achieve his goals a few different times, most notably in the demented version of Hyrule City, where the future he rules with absolute power in the absence of Link and Zelda in the Ocarina of Time. His power comes from the Triforce of Power, and Ganon's goal is to transcend humanity to become something omnipotent, supreme, and have control over the entire world. Which in Breath of the Wild, he's already achieved that goal and is called Calamity Ganon, and is referred to more of an entity that ruled and ruined the world. The biggest reason that Link is often revered as such a great hero is because he overcomes Ganon, most often defeating Ganon just after he achieves his goal. I feel like other villains are compared to Ganon just because of how influential the Legend of Zelda games are. But for this next villain, it might seem a little random given the list. Number 4. Yes, this is another serious entry, but this time he is a villain through and through and is meant to be viewed as the villain who pulls the strings. Don't let his adorable appearance fool you. Unlike Doge, Monokuma is the actual villain. The main reason I consider Monokuma to be such a great villain is because he rarely steps in and does anything directly. No, he just uses and manipulates the fears of the other main characters so that they start killing each other. Even when he does step in, he proves that he's not someone to fuck with. Every now and then he offers motives to the characters to kill each other. However, he never really promises anything significant, just what he can fool others with. Monokuma is a very smart villain. However, when it comes to intelligence, the next entry puts everyone else in shame, even spots 2 and 1. Number 3? Alright, I can't bring myself to break up the evil organization that is Ouroboros, because this is definitely a case where the sum of the parts isn't greater than the whole. As a whole, Ouroboros is best at what they do, which is usually just pull the strings of the dark. Unfortunately, I can't justify placing them any higher on the list since they are a group of people and not just one person. Ouroboros members do have plot importance in their games, and they are extremely powerful and driven to achieve their own goals. But I think keeping them together as a whole is a better representation of what they're capable of. I'm just gonna keep things in broad strokes. In the Legend of Hero games, we can see different members of Ouroboros go after their own goals and can actually lead to conflict between different members. You know what's something that's kinda scary? The head honcho permits them to basically do whatever they want so long as they maintain their loyalty to the Grandmaster, the one person in Ouroboros who's calling all the shots. I could talk about their goals of the members of Ouroboros and their underlying goals of the group for about 20 minutes, and I still don't think I could do them justice. So I'm just gonna say this. This organization is what other organizations should try to be, and the next entry even used the secret organization to get his way. Number 2. Power hungry, knowledgeable, and infinitely cunning. Albert Wesker was a man who sought power and domination over the entire human race, all for his own gain. To this end, he was affiliated with the Umbrella Corporation as one of the most promising researchers. Using his position, he practically sets up the entire Resident Evil franchise, and all the terrors that are attacking can usually be traced back to Wesker in one way or another. Not only that, but he's used his position as a researcher to enhance himself to be something more than human, something far more evil.
Sure, I'm not human anymore, but just look at the power I've gained.
In a sense, he's a lot like Ganon, like how hard it is to try to get rid of him, or like how they set loose a wave of monsters, or how they just managed to transcend humanity. Unlike Ganon, Wesker relies on his wit far more than just power. He sets up these elaborate situations just to further his own goals. He doesn't necessarily win at any point, but it's definitely worth noting that he causes far more harm than the heroes can overcome entirely, leaving multiple games with the player wondering, alright, so how's this gonna get fucked up next? And since he died where the franchise did, with the monster that is called Resident Evil 5, his death wasn't exactly something that was expected, whereas the number 1 villain's death was something that the players could hope for, something they desperately wanted to do themselves. But before we get to number 1, let's have a look at some honorable mentions. Honorable mentions. Doflamingo. Alright, so this is an anime entry. Doflamingo is very similar to Wesker in a lot of ways, but the main reason he didn't make the list is because he was just a temporary villain. After his story arc, he just vanished into the prison of the Marines, down into Impel Down. Liquid Snake. Eventually I might get around to do a full review of the entire Metal Gear Solid franchise as a whole, and explain the timeline and plot elements throughout the entire series, but today is not that day. Just know that Liquid finds himself in positions of power, and he uses said power for his own goals. So now, here comes good old number 1, and I kind of feel bad about him being on the list. After all, he is a hero. Handsome Jack. To me, Handsome Jack is the best villain in any story ever. Why, you ask? Well, let me get started. Handsome Jack is a very dubious villain. His rise to power was from a series of planned assassinations, leading him to taking control over the corporation called Hyperion. With Hyperion, Handsome Jack developed new, extremely powerful destructive weapons. So with a supply of powerful weapons, he sends that to Pandora to have all the bandits kill each other. Those are just some of the more cold and calculating evil plans that Jack has done. Now, let's take a look at what he does best, antagonizing the player. In Borderlands 2, Jack is pretty much present throughout the entire game, and even plays a big role to kick off the game. In an act that he doesn't thoroughly suffer from lazy bastard syndrome, he lures all the Vault Hunters on a train in a false guise that he's going to ally himself with you to open up the vault. But he filled the entire train with explosives and blows the Vault Hunters half to hell. But here's where Jack starts to shine as a villain. Even at the beginning of the game, he starts to talk to the player directly, insulting them constantly. Jack is so ridiculous as an insult that you just can't help but to start to love him.
Talked much since I left you for dead. Hey, you think you'll freeze to death out there? No, probably not. Bandits will get you first. My day? Been pretty good. Just bought a pony made of diamonds. Yeah, because I'm rich. So, you know, that's cool. Goodbye. Yada yada. This jackal rushes me with a spoon. A freaking spoon, and I'm dying laughing, right? So I scoop out his stupid little eyeballs with it. His kids are all, oh, and he can't see where he's going. He's bumping into stuff, and I'm trying to think of a name for that diamond pony I bought. I was gonna call it Piss for Brains in honor of you, but that just feels immature. Hey, maybe Butt Stallion? Nah, that's even worse. I'll tell you what, I'll give it some more thought. Just 1 second. No matter what happens, I just want you to remember one thing. You're a sellout. You killed yourself because it paid you to. You're a bitch. All right, off you go. I should probably clarify. The diamond horse I've been telling you about, it's not a sculpture or anything. It's a living horse that actually happens to be made of... Well, yeah, actually, I'll go get her. Butt Stallion! Here, girl! Butt Stallion! Say hello! Yeah. Butt Stallion says hello.
Though despite his charming insults, Handsome Jack does remind the player that he is a villain. He tricks the player to lower a force field in Sanctuary, then he launches an attack on, and in his best role as a villain, kills one of the main characters, captures another, and practically everything goes his way. If not for this pain in the ass, Handsome Jack would have ruled over all of Pandora. So yes, that is my list of baddies. Let me know what you thought of it. If I missed anybody important or shouldn't have put a hero at the top of the list, let me know. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you have anything you want to say, make sure to leave in the comments below. And thank you for staying weird.